So it's FOMC day, guys, and that means volatility incoming. I want you guys to be well prepped and prepared for all events here coming into Bitcoin, the metals, and these altcoins. I got some key zones for you that you need to be watching. Let's go. Guys, and remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. Now, I am coming to you a little bit early today, and the reason being is I want you guys to be well prepped for this FOMC. It's going to be an absolute banger, and I want to cover some very important levels for you. Now, some of the sentiment at the moment, or a couple of the scenarios we are looking at, is we know, Powell might be a little bit hawkish today, and that could be a bearish situation. But we do have a couple of other things brewing at the moment, like a dropping 𝗕𝗟𝗓, a dropping dollar index, and that can obviously help a lot of risk on markets as well. So let's get into the stuff. Let's take a look at what is going on out there, and let's start planning our way around this FOMC situation. So right now you can see we're straight into Bitcoin here on the 2-hour, and this was that big local bear zone that I was covering all week. Now you can see why it's such a big zone. We've got a descending trend, we've got the 50-day MA, we've got a 382, I've got a VWAP from those local highs as well. It's an absolute war zone at the moment. Okay, so that is obviously a danger zone. You can see at the 2-hour at the moment, it is giving us a little bit of a red candle. Yeah, but now there's so many catalysts or so many variables tonight, so it's very difficult to go in and blindly pick a direction when Joe Powell hasn't even spoken yet. So what I advise is, obviously, if you're sitting in positions, be aware of where your big resistance and big support zones are, and don't get yourself chopped up in between, because there is going to be a ton of volatility, and then a direction should follow after that, up or down, and we need to be able to ride that one. So right now you can see local bear zone, big danger here, 90K into 92K. It's clear as day. This is a trouble zone. So what are the scenarios here? Scenario number one is we get some pre-spike into FOMC, and for whatever reason, Powell might be a little bit dovish. Okay, then you might find something like that, a little retest of this 50-day MA, and then we're going to see if those bulls are going to step in. That is the bull case. If we can hold that 50-day MA, then we might get a trigger to start looking at longs. Now, what is the bear case? The bear case is the market starts pumping around FOMC on the hope that we're going to get some dovish news or whatever Powell's going to say, and we just get that fake out. We take out all the early shorts, and then they come and drop this thing back. So that is obviously the two scenarios we need to look out for. Now, if you're super bearish, you obviously want to see that pump, and you want to try and catch that short once they blow it through that type of region. Now, in terms of interim zones, look at this. Here's your local bull zone, and I would say this is going to be your bullish starting point. So anything down to about 88, 250, 88K, somewhere around that region is probably a reasonable support zone that you guys can use if you're looking to hold your positions and things like that. 88.2 looks okay to me, and then lower down, obviously we've got our lows at this 86.5. Okay, so watching this one super closely. In terms of the oscillators, we are getting overcooked. Now, obviously, tonight we're going to have a ton of volatility, and it's difficult to say, if they're going to ride this thing a little bit more or if it's going to reverse. But you can see there are scenarios when an overcooked oscillator arrives at resistance. We know quite often it can roll over. Okay, there are obviously also other scenarios when you start pushing into areas like that, and then things tend to rocket to the upside. So we're going to use that as a guide, obviously, but we're going to track this now throughout the course of later or throughout the course of the evening. And then in terms of Bitcoin on the daily time frame, here it is, just another context for you guys, just a higher time frame picture, and you can see the situation. Look at this. We've got a rising trend that's also adding to the confluence as well as a possible rejection zone. So big trouble up there. Perfect world, we get the break, and the bulls can look for longs at that 50-day MA, possible pumpage to the upside. Look, I think the case that everyone is talking about is that, okay? It's that move there to the downside. And then for me, longs, 84K, longs, 80K, somewhere in those regions. Okay, that is kind of how I'm seeing it now at the moment. Obviously, just be careful whether you are long or short here. It's going to get spicy for us. Now, let's just take a look at a couple of other things. Now, I've obviously spoken about the FOMC. That is obviously coming later on. We know. Now, there's a little bit of war news happening here at the moment. And you would have noticed yesterday, I was talking about the 200-day moving average being resistance for US oil And I was saying, if we break that thing hard enough, there could be a reason to start getting long on that US oil. Now you can see what Trump has just posted here earlier today. He's got an absolute armada on its way to Iran. Yeah, a little bit intimidating. I'm not sure what's going on there, but oil is obviously loving the result of that news at the moment. You can see we've broken the 250. We've retested that 250-day MA, and now oil is starting to give it a little bit of a run here at the moment. Okay, so I've got myself a little scalp oil situation here, and we can use this 200-day MA as our support marker. So closes under, say, 62, guys. Then you should maybe start looking to trim that thing. If this war news continues, oil should start going a little bit higher for us. Now, in terms of a couple of other things that we need to know about here at the moment, obviously the gold and the metals, gold, silver, those types of things. I feel like we've been watching this stuff from the absolute sidelines, just like this poor guy over here. But there is still hope out there that there could be a rotation out of gold and silver into Bitcoin and some of these altcoins that have been so disappointing. So when that eventually slows down, we'll deal with it. But right now, the music is on, and we are going to continue to look for longs from local bull zones on things like gold and silver until they are no longer working. So right now, for me, guys, key levels for bounces for gold, 5,180 into 5,160. There's a possible long cooking over here for you guys. Okay, anywhere in that region, look at that. We got that VWAP, we got the horizontals, we got your 382. There's a lot going on here for gold, 5,180, 5,160, and then the big one, everyone's going to try and trade this one, 5,112. Look at that. That's a huge level, 618 in play. Everyone is going to try and trade that bounce. Okay, so 5,112 on gold, no doubt will give you some kind of springboard if market starts falling over. And then in terms of oil, silver, you can see what's going on here. We got our local bull zone in play, the 382, the VWAP, giving us a reaction at the moment. There are two scenarios to watch on silver during the course of the day. One of them could be the bullish divergence play, which you could well find with an FOMC with a lot of seesawing and volatility. We could pick up something like this on silver. What does that mean? That means we could potentially just drop to a new low, 108.98. Call it 109 as a possible bounce zone there for silver, 109, guys. And then higher up rejection zones, 116, 121. Be careful in those areas. Look how these FIBs are performing. Okay, look at this, 4618. 5618 fib is coming next. So 116, 121, guys, danger for those guys. Then in terms of copper, chopping around again, is this like a red herring, this copper trade? Are they going to come with a narrative? Are they going to pump this thing, or is this just some kind of exit liquidity? So I'm still holding my copper longs here, looking for action, guys. This is the ping pong zone for copper at the moment. Remember, all these charts are in the Chart Hackers Discord for you guys, including my new metal section. So you'll find gold, silver, oil there as well, copper in my new section in my channel, and you won't have to look too hard. Okay, so there's the ping pong zones for copper that I'm interested in at the moment. Support mark for you guys, resistance zones making sense to me. Okay, so that is that, guys. And then in terms of earnings, we've got earnings coming today. You can see the market has just opened. US market's just opened, and you can see Tesla is flat. Those earnings are coming in later on, sort of after market close. I'm still looking at 390 as a possible bounce on Tesla. That would mean bearish earnings news. But tomorrow, if it's dropping, that 200-day MA, guys, look for that long. 380 could be a bounce zone. We got Meta coming. This is interesting. Look at this thing. It's putting so much pressure on this 200-day moving average. If we get a hard pop here, this is going to be used by all the TradFi guys as support. Okay, so that could be a really nice long, but as things stand, this is resistance. Let's see. Bearish earnings. This thing is coming down. 549 for me on Meta. Okay, that could be your long play. Now, let's get into some of these altcoins. Now, I'm obviously going to cover, I'm going to jump through as quickly as possible some of these alts. Obviously, pump and hype, they are the flavor at the moment. We need to deal with ETH and Sol, and then I've got some render for you. I've got levels on Peppy. Brett is looking good for us still from this last week. I've got Sui XRP short, obviously, and some virtual things coming for you guys. Okay, so make sure you are ready to go on some of these alts. Let's do it. And that sounds like an alarm. I couldn't even tell you what that alarm is. In fact, you know what that is? That's the S&P breaking all-time highs that we set yesterday. Oh, there it is. Okay, SPX crossing. So all-time highs for S&P leading into FOMC. Wow, things could get spicy later on. Okay, let's deal with ETH at the moment. You can see this is ETH on the 4-hour time frame. What are we looking at? Oscillator slowly giving some overcooked signs at the moment. It is something we need to keep our eye on. And just like Bitcoin, we got major resistance ahead. So guys, the big one for me here is this 3,100. Look at that, 50-day MA, VWAP, and 0.5. That is a big zone. What is the scenario here? If we get a pump into FOMC but for some reason, like I've explained on Bitcoin, they decide to be dovish, there's going to be a rejection, say 3,200, somewhere around there. We're going to be able to use that as our support later on. So about 3,100, 3,060, major resistance now. If we flip that, guys, that is going to be nice support. But until then, you actually need to be cautious. Okay, so big danger zone here. If we get a dip during FOMC, the most reasonable support at the moment that I could use for ETH is 2,880. That would give us, for the bulls, maybe some hopium here, but an inverse head and shoulders. Okay, so you'll see something like that, and that could be a reasonable long here. So flush out a couple of the late longs from today, and then maybe give it a second push to the upside. So that is obviously on the table. Just protect yourselves, obviously, at all costs. Look after your risk. Let's talk Solana. Exactly the same. I have a short order at 131 on Sol with a stop loss just above 134. Obviously, I'm speculating at the moment that there's going to be a sharp spike, and we can't manage all of the charts all at once when this event is happening. So I've taken a speculative play with Sol there at 131, looking for that pump and dump into that zone. Let's see if that is going to play out. We know that is a big resistance zone, just like Bitcoin, VWAP, trend, bear zone, 50-day MA. It's all happening there. And then in terms of a local bull zone, I'm just paying attention to this for now. Okay, we've got this possibility here. If there's any sweat out, bang into that zone, 123.6, 122, something like that, potentially on Sol. Remember, there are so many variables tonight, and we got to be very smart with how we are playing. I'm not saying don't be in positions. I'm in a couple of positions, but let's just be smart with sizing and things like that until we know what is actually going down. Okay, so just be patient, play these big zones, and you will be fine. Okay, now let's talk hype. And this is moving into one of two major danger zones. Now, I said in the Hackers Discord earlier today, shots have been fired on hype. Why have shots been fired? Let's take a look at the 2-hour chart quickly here. I just want to show you something. Look at that. First bearish divergence print on hype. Look at the cash flow starting to turn over, and we're sitting in our first major resistance zone. So shots across the bow for possible bulls here on hype. Maybe a short-term pullback or something along those lines. We need to be careful, because if Bitcoin rejects at that 90 to 92, hype could be in for a little bit of a clean out before the next possible move. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go to new lows. There's lots of levels that you'll be able to play with on hype, but in terms of managing a position, these are danger zones, 35.5 and 38.5. Guys, pay attention to these. These are possible danger zones, and also a possibility that if the rest of the market maybe fires off, let's say Bitcoin miraculously breaks that resistance zone and the rest of the market starts pumping, you're probably going to find that hype and pump slow down, because they were the front runners in the beginning. They were leading the charge, and they might slow down, and then you might see other pops on some of these other altcoins. Okay, so hype, guys, those are the big zones. That blue one is the 200-day MA. You know, I love that thing. Then in terms of pump, you can see what's going on here. Again, still doing well. All the activity in the trenches here, the guys launching their meme coins, that's obviously stimulating money and pump. They're making more money, etc., etc. But what do we do? Okay, you can see right now we are in a sort of area of no gains. Okay, look at that. So this thing is looking pretty overcooked at the moment on the 4-hour. Any more pumps, we might see something like that, a bit of a bearish divergence on the 4. Let's wait and see how that plays out. You can see the last time we had bearish divergence on the 4, there was a little bit of downside there on pumps. So areas to watch if you are sitting in longs: high confluence danger zone. I've got a major VWAP here. I've got the 0.5. I've got some horries as well sitting in the zone. So 357, look out, 358, 357, that type of region on pump. That is possibly a TP zone or possibly a rejection and short zone. Look out for the reaction in that zone. If you get a hard rejection there, that could be something interesting there for you if you want to send it down. And then big support, guys, 28. Okay, we've got VWAPs, 0.5 horizontals. That is decent support, because I wrote there decent support. Okay, so 283, give it a little bit of breathing room, 273, 283, somewhere in there. That should be okay for you guys. Now, in terms of what's going on in the Discord, well, there's a lot going on in the Discord, and we're running a blowfin competition, obviously, for anybody on the show, and obviously for anybody in the Chart Hackers Discord. You guys are all welcome to join. If you're a show watcher, the link is in the show description. Come and join the comp. But I was saying earlier today, the top three in the Blowfin competition, it's myself. In fact, it's Panda first, myself second, and Kimmy's coming third. And I was saying to the guys in the Hackers Discord, they're getting arrogant and loud in my private WhatsApp group. With these guys, and I've now put a bounty on their head. So I've said anybody in the Blowfin comp that manages to overtake those two are going to get a $10,000 bit funded giveaway, okay, as a prize for taking them out. Okay, so there's a bounty on their head. Blowfin traders, get stuck in there. Okay, we need you. We need your help here. Now, there's a couple of things here that are interesting, or that is interesting to me at the moment. Look at this render chart on the 8 hour. Look at that spider web divergence here. Okay, I cannot ignore the current situation there. That is looking super interesting. And there's a part of me that says, even if there is a flush out now on FOMC, there's a strong possibility we're going to hold this 176, 175 zone on render. Okay, so I'm nibbling around in small render position here, hoping that we're going to get a little dip. Maybe we get to add some more, things like that. But guys, 176, 175, that's a strong possibility zone for me on render. You can see we haven't tapped it yet. They're just flirting with that zone. You could be very surprised here that we get a reversal today, bang into that zone, and then a possible bounce. 176, 175 on render. Let's talk Brett. This thing is still going for me at the moment. You can see my current view. We've got the 8 hour divergence printing as well. And I'd like to think that this low can hold, obviously subject to Joe Powell not being an absolute, I don't know, a home wrecker. Okay, so we're looking for something like that. 0.0121 is my current support on Brett. This trade is cooking. We are leaving that one as is for now. Here's a sneaky one, okay? Maybe worth a look with a stink bid, something like that. Peppy 00441. Guys, look at that zone. We haven't hit the trend. We haven't hit the 786. We haven't hit these horizontals. Okay, this is interesting to me here. It's very unusual that we haven't hit that trend. I want to see that. Bang, bang. Okay, 441 for Peppy, starting to make sense to me. Sui, here's my win entry. Come on, baby. Come here. 132 into 131. Okay, Sui, look for this one here. Could be a nice dip. Another, I think, 5 or 6% dip into that zone. That could be a long play for you guys. Just be patient there. XRP, guys, you know what I want. Okay, are you going to give it to me? 2 to 2.03. We want that short for XRP. That's going to be a nice spike to the upside. Maybe Joe Powell says some nice things, or the market gets a little bit excited. But 2 to 203, guys, that's a short zone for XRP at the moment. Virtual traders, if you are long virtual, we've broken the 50. Interesting. Okay, we haven't closed above on the 12 just yet. But what are we watching here? Couple of things. 92, 97 major rejection zones. If you get a hard explosive move during FOMC or just after or something like that, guys, 92, 97 high probability rejection, strong possibility short zones here for you guys. To the downside, what is interesting, look at that. We haven't quite hit these horizontals. We've got a beautiful tap on that fib. Okay, that was the thing of absolute beauty. And we've got these horizontals here as well. If there's a hard dump here, guys, 75 zone again, 74 on virtual could be interesting. And shout out to Nagel. He absolutely nailed this one on his bit funded trade for our hackers Discord. Okay, and oh, there goes Pendle. Okay, so Pendle, I covered this in my channel in the Chart Hackers Discord earlier, and now we're getting our first rejection here on Pendle. Okay, so this is an interesting one. It was an outperformer today. And in terms of possible longs here, guys, I want to highlight the lows of this local bull zone. 193. Okay, that's going to typically be your first port of call. That is if you like the idea of Pendle, you're interested in this thing, 193 is your first sort of region of interest. You got your VWAP, your 0.5, your horizontals. It's looking interesting there. You will remember that I did give you this major zone during the course of this week. We obviously haven't hit it yet, but in terms of what could happen in the next few hours, this little move here, about a 4%er, 193, could be interesting. Now, naturally, we need to pay attention to what is going on here. This 1 hour is only just reversed. So you might be faced with something like that, where it drops a little bit lower and then it rips again. And that could be Pendle printing a new high before this thing drops lower down. And that would effectively look like a visit for Pendle into the 2.14 region. Okay, so look out for that possibility there of that move in Pendle. Remember, this chart is in the Hackers Discord there waiting for you guys. Now, what else do we have here? Oh, we got Pengu as well. You can see major danger zone here. We know Sol's been doing well. Pump's been doing well. Sol ecosystem's been doing well. well. 𝗵𝗃 obviously has been doing relatively well. Major resistance. Look at this whole region, guys. It's a trouble zone here. 105 into 108. Danger up here. Okay, be careful there. You can see this 1 hour is starting to turn a little bit bearish here for us. Again, doesn't mean, we have to trust this thing 100%, but you can see the signs are there and it has started slowing down. So in terms of zones that I think could work for you guys, possible longs for us later on, 973. VWAP, trend, 0.5, horizontal. That looks like an interesting zone. Let's see if we can get some kind of long here out of 𝗵𝗃, something like that. Bang, bang. Okay, 973, somewhere in that area could make a ton of sense. Link, I got nothing to say. Absolute dog shit at the moment. It's just bouncing around, doing pretty much nothing. And SPX, well, again, also flirting around with these zones. Not much to report on those guys. But guys, I just wanted to leave you with these important levels, and we got some of the Chart Prime team. They'll be running the FOMC live in the Chart Hackers Discord. They've always got nice insights as well, so Piper and those guys will be there for you if you are part of the Hackers Discord. Remember, everything I've spoken about in the show description. You just click on more, you're going to find it all there. Now guys, let's see how things play out. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Whatever happens, it's going to be a banger day tomorrow, while we're either picking up the pieces or we riding these pumps. Okay, we'll see you guys later.